Hi, you're going to want to watch today's live cast if you're interested in building a business that gives you far more profit and free time. There's plenty of people that teach you how to make more profit, but very few people that will show you how to do that while working less. This is really important because if you want a good lifestyle, you have to understand this information. And just to put this in context, I've been fortunate to work with many of the super wealthy, like generational wealthy families. And they set their businesses up from day one so that team are in place, systems are in place, and so that their business operates without them. And in the early stages of doing that, because they don't want to be involved with the day-to-day processes of running the business, because they know if they did that, that they're going to be a roadblock, that they're going to slow down the growth, that they won't have time to think strategically. Because what they do is they are controller of resources, not resources in their business. Now, what happens for most business owners, and I've got all the time, I've got business owners coming to me to have me help build them out of their businesses. But one of the things that I always notice is that they're programmed with their belief systems and thinking to be a resource in their business. So think about that. Those that come from the generational wealthy, where that wealth and that knowledge that's built that wealth is handed down the generations, they don't get involved in the day-to-day processes of their business because they are controlling resources. Now, what are resources? Human beings, capital, IP, and systems. So let's get to it because I want to share a story about a client that I was working with today. And over the last few weeks, we're setting him up to give away many of his roles so that he can move into what we call the conductor stage. So that the technician stage, which is what most business owners are doing when they first start their businesses, is that they're working in their business in all these roles that they shouldn't be. So we have to free up time by giving away many of those roles that the person's doing at the technician stage to other team members, so they can start to free up their time, so they've got more time for thinking, strategizing, which is what you need to do if you're going to grow a business. You can't be a doer all the time. You have to be thinking and strategizing. And then once you've come up with strategies, instead of you implementing those strategies, you're passing on those strategies to be executed by others on your team so that you've still got more time to think, plan, watch what's happening, evaluate, watch all the key data to see if the strategy is working or not. That's called working on your business in conductor stage. And you can never get to the point where you pull out of your business unless you go into that conductor stage. So the conductor, again, is the controller of resources. So this particular gentleman, he was holding on to his bookkeeping. He didn't want to let it go. And again, I'm pushing up against these belief systems. Why don't you want to let it go? He goes, well, I'm going to have to pay a bookkeeper to do that. I said, great. Well, do you love bookkeeping? No. Are you particularly good at it? No. He says, it really tires me out and I've got to use will to do it. And because I'm using will, I get tired and then I make mistakes. You see, it's not in his zone of genius or in his strength zone. It's in his weakness zone. And if you do any role in your weakness zone, you're not going to be that great at it. But again, he's battling on, thinking he's saving himself money. And I said, okay, so how many hours a week are you doing the bookkeeping? He says about 3 hours. And I said, okay, let's look at some other activities in your business. What are the activities that produce you the most income? And he goes, well, marketing and selling, which of course, they're the actually only two activities in your business that produce income. And the better you market, the less you have to sell. Because marketing, when it's done properly, resolves a lot of people's objections, so the sale becomes quick and easy. So I said, so, let's have a rough look at what you earn for every hour you spend marketing and selling. And I forget what it came to. It was like $2,000 an hour. And this is kind of guaranteed for him. He's been in business for quite some time. And I said, okay, so if you had another 3 hours to spend marketing and selling, well, there's another $6,000 a week. And you can use, that's way more than you're going to pay the bookkeeper to do those 3 hours worth of work a week. Now, that's just obvious, right? Just think about that. That's just so obvious. But you would not believe how many business owners that first come to me, that we're starting to build them out of their businesses, that still hold on to that thinking. They can't see it. Now, again, this comes from programming. What programming? It comes from the schooling system. So when you go through the schooling system, you are trained unconsciously, meaning you're not aware of the conditioning you're getting, to be a resource. That's the first thing. So think about it. You are being trained. Your parents said, you've got to get a good education. You've got to get a good education. I've got nothing against getting a good education. I think it's fantastic. But you've got to look at the underlying sentiment. You've got to get a good education. Why? Because your parents were worried about you. They wanted you to get better skills because the unconscious agenda is that, well, you're not powerful. You can't be an entrepreneur or an investor, which is why you didn't go to an entrepreneur or investor school. You went to a school which was producing resources for the capitalistic system, you being the resource. So the better your skill set, the more likely you were to get a good job and get paid more. And so most of the business owners that come to me have been conditioned in that way. So when they get into work, they go, well, I can do that, I can do that, and I can do that, and I can do that. And as I said before, families of generational wealthy never do, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that, because they do not want to be a resource. They want to control resources, which is why we've got to get a person to what we call the conductor stage in their business. Heaps of time freed up so they can think, strategize, which is where the money's made. And then instead of doing, they're giving it to others to implement, as I said before. And so you can see hardwired this gentleman into his bookkeeping. And then here's another element. Again, you can see that if he freed that up and spent his time in what we call this highest dollar productive zone, which is the activities that make the most money, he's making way more money for those 3 hours than he saves. So you can pay the person to do that. But again, when you go through the schooling system, you're not even taught to think like that, which is a bit of a shame. So often we're working with people's conditioning, their unconscious belief systems. Oh, there's another thing here. So I could see the resistance, and he had a resistance that he couldn't see, because we all have an unconscious, and in the unconscious we have beliefs that we don't even know we have. That's why we call it the unconscious. So in the unconscious, he believed that he couldn't trust anyone, and he believed that if he gave his trust away to anyone, they could betray him, and he also believed that no one should know anything about his finances. So those belief systems, until they're surfaced and seen, control behaviours and actions which wanted to keep him holding on to his bookkeeping. And finally, like when he spends time doing the books, he's not leveraging time. He's not leveraging time in the slightest little bit. When we move someone to the conductor stage, so you go from technician, you work in your business, you go to conductor stage, freeing up, working on your business, strategizing, using, allocating resources, other people, capital to implement the strategies you come up with. That's early stage requirement before you can move right outside of your business and not work in your business. So you've got to get to that stage. It looks like I've frozen, but I'm going to keep going here. Maybe I haven't. I'll find out when I see the live recording. Anyway, so again, with those belief systems, with our conditioning, we tend to get stuck in doing, and we trade time for money, where, that's where I was going before. As we get to the conductor stage, we leverage time. So what do I mean by leverage time? Well, when a person works in their business and does like bookkeeping, there's no leveraging of time. They've got to do the same thing the next week, the next week, the next week, the next week. As a conductor, we leverage time by setting up systems that build the value of the business, that create passivity in the business. We end roadblocks in the business so we can fail. So that means every hour work has an exponential impact on profit growth and value growth in the business. It builds the business. That's what the entrepreneur must concentrate on, not being involved in the day-to-day processes of the business. Anyway, I hope you learned from that. And if you've got any questions, put it in the comment below. If you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, flick us through an email. You can send it to perry@perrymarlin.com, and I'll do my best to answer your questions in this live. Thanks. See ya.